Avatar: The Last Airbender was one of my favorite shows growing up, and still is one of the best shows that I can go back to today, as well as enjoy with other adults, especially around my age, if they also grew up with the show, and just enjoy no matter what age you or your fellow viewing audience are. It has become a show and a piece of media that has defined a generation, defined us people who were growing up throughout the 2000s, like myself. It is a show that has been so impactful, so important, so inspiring, and it's getting a remake, just like many things are. But while adaptations always change things, there's one recent change that seems to be taking place that nobody, no matter where we are on the political or social spectrum, nobody likes. Hey everyone, my name's Christian Verstappen, and I have a lot to say about many things. I want to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender. I grew up with the incredible cartoon series spanning from books 1 through 3, water, earth, fire, respectively, for the elements, which, if you aren't familiar with the series, um, fix that because it's a really good show. You should definitely give it a watch. But the main character, Aang, not Ong, um, has the ability, I'm going to simplify a lot of this, but he has the ability to bend all the elements, and those being water, earth, fire, and air. He starts as an airbender, so he has to learn water in book 1. Although he does try to learn fire shortly, but it doesn't go too well. Then he learns he learns earth in book 2, earth, and finally fire in book 3, fire. Now, like I said, this show, the characters, the world building, so much of this show has been absolutely incredible for many people, especially like myself. The show ran from 2005 to 2008, with a live-action adaptation by M. Night Shyamalan, who directed the film, and it was released in 2009. Now, no hate to the actors, no hate to any of that stuff. I feel bad especially for the guy that played Aang, because he literally sent in an audition tape cosplaying as Aang from the show, like the real Aang, this one, and they cast him because they're like he'd make a great Aang, and he would. If only you would have let him play Aang and everybody else actually play their characters. Many people in the fan base and out of the fan base have explained to death why this movie was so terrible, and it's beating a dead horse at this point. However, we are now getting a new adaptation from Netflix. And right off the bat, I just have to point out the appearance of these characters and even their world and all this stuff here that you can kind of see. This is spot on. Everybody looks like Aang. I mean, one thing you can still see, he has his little like details in the tattoo, but it's not this weird whatever the hell was going on here with these tattoos. Everybody looks way more like their actual animated counterparts. Zuko looks a hell of a lot more like Zuko. Scar could be a little bit bigger, but it's a hell of a lot better than this. So, as far as appearance and everything goes, this is spot on. This is incredible. We have Appa back here, who looks a hell of a lot better than he did in the movie, and this is a great example of. And we have Momo down here as well. These are great examples of when I talk about. Oh, and Iroh also looking really good. Azula, everybody, Katara, Sokka, everybody. Yeah. So this is a great example of when I talk about, you know, characters looking and everything being like they were in their original depictions and all that stuff. I think that this is really, really good. I mean, this, like, if we're just talking appearance wise, this is incredible. And we got a recent trailer for this, and it looked pretty good. I can't show the trailer, obviously, but you're more than welcome to look it up if you're seeing this video before the show actually comes out. If you have the chance to actually watch the show now, great. do that. But we got a trailer, and one thing that we have to understand when going into the show is it's not going to be the animated series, and that's fine. Adaptations and things are always going to change, and that's okay. But it depends on what those changes are, because one of those changes has gotten everybody very upset. Variety tweeted this, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Netflix's live action Avatar The Last Airbender series is toning down the sexism. We took out the element of how sexist Sokka was. I feel like there were a lot of moments in the original show that were iffy. Says, I do apologize, I do not know how to pronounce this. Kia Wentio? I'm sorry, I'm really not sure how to pronounce that. But apparently that's the actress that's playing Katara. Yeah, totally. Adds Ian Owsley. Again, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce these people's names. But the guy who's playing Sokka. There are things that were redirected just because it might play a little different in live action. Here's the thing about Sokka's character, what you need to understand about this guy. And a lot of these tweets that we're going to go through here and stuff we're going to discuss shows it as well. The first thing I saw, and I tweeted as a response was, God forbid we have character development. Because what we're seeing here ultimately is the neutering of this character. We are seeing a refinement of the edges of this character to make them so palpable for an audience and so non-controversial that we're actually betraying real progressive messaging for this pathetic virtue signaling. And we're going to get to all that in a minute here. So we have like all these. There's going to be a lot of likes from me here. A lot of things. I could write a 2-hour long video essay on why Sokka's sexism was important to his character arc. Growing and accepting the powerful women in his life was a major plot point for him, from the beginning to meeting the Kyoshi and to watching his sister become a master bender. So getting rid of a major character arc that shows he's growing up. The cartoon is going to have better characters than this garbage, but we're gonna have people insist this is more grown up because Zuko says the fuck word. I think it's the real thing. It wasn't Hello Future Me. It was um Captain Midnight did a video about this where he talked about like what's the point? What's the point in having a live action Avatar at all? And sadly, the point is, especially here in the in the Western world, and like well, at least America, I should say, a lot of people really think that if something is animated, then it must be for kids. So this person had this. I'm worried about Netflix's Avatar, which I am now too. I wasn't originally, but now I am as well. Literally a part of Sokka's character arc. So yeah, for those that are unaware, basically Sokka's a big part of his character, his whole point is that he is, by what we would call today, he exudes a lot of toxic masculinity. And what he does is, because he exudes sexism and misogyny, he exudes this idea where he thinks he always has to be the tough guy and all this stuff. And a lot of his character arc is unlearning those harmful mentalities that hurt him and his relationships with other people. A really good message for people to be learning, especially today when people like Andrew Tate and this rise of new wave misogyny, if you will, is very much on the rise. But this show's gonna suck. This is so unnecessary and very disappointing to hear. Yeah, so like a lot of people, as you're seeing here, yeah. So we have some comments from me here. By doing this, they essentially destroy Avatar's explicitly anti-sexist message, Sokka's misogyny early on not only led to extraordinary character growth, but also made every subsequent female fighter seem even more impressive by contending in a world where sexism is so prevalent. True. Um, hey, while you're bringing, or and the person had Toph as a, oh yeah, because she was a tough girl, and they mentioned, hey, while you're bringing up Toph, be prepared for season 2 where the showrunners decide to make her not mean because that would be a harmful depiction of a disabled person. To which I responded, my money's on them making Not Blind anymore because we can't have an inspirational disabled person. God forbid. Um, by the way, I've actually thought for a bit, if they do anything different with Toph, I can see them going a route of making her either trans or non-binary. Well, as I understand it, I think non-binary is like a type of trans, but um, something where she'd be, she wouldn't be cis. Um, and I'm not entirely against that idea. I think it could. I think you could do something like that, and I think it would be okay. And because I think you could do that, and you could still use the character of Toph to have incredible character development. I don't think it necessarily should be done. Of course, I've talked about this before. Print to screen, direct adaptation. That's the kind of thing I want to see, but I understand adaptations are always going to change things, and we'll get to that in a minute here too. Oops, wrong way. I think wrong way? Yes, okay. So we have kind of worried about Zuko's arc now if they're already telling us they're kind of fumbling Sokka's arc and its purpose. To which I responded, an abusive father and sadistic sister who was groomed by her father to be his heir is too problematic. The person responded to me with, it's just too iffy nowadays. Yeah, so like a lot of us are just kind of, taking the piss out of this shit too. But like they're either cowards or they truly don't understand the story. I think both. No more live action shows. So, and this is my take on this, right? Just no more reboots. Obviously, everything is going to be subject to change, and adaptations will do that, of course. But why even bother if you don't actually want to tell the same story? Just make a different story. But no, gotta have that name recognition. So I've touched on this a little bit before, or maybe I haven't, but I've wanted to touch on this a little bit more before. Um, I would prefer to see something that is not even necessarily a spiritual successor of something like Avatar, but if they want to like take the concept of these characters and make something similar but tell a different story, I think that's fine. But when you put the name of these influential stories and characters and stuff with it, the audience is going to have a certain expectation. So while it's true that adaptations will always change things, it it's complicated. It's still annoying, and people have every right to be annoyed when things like this change, or even when like characters' appearances change, or what the case. Again, the difference between this and this is staggering. Um, all the anti-woke types will make nice videos on this. Good job, guys. This is exactly what we all needed. Um, to which I responded, ironic too, because him being sexist and growing from it is one of the woke things about the show. It did such a good job with issues like this. I've been thinking for a while now that the anti-woke crowd would hate this show, uh, as they would the cartoon today, but this is insane. Yeah, I was getting ready for them to be like, oh, they made Avatar woke because they didn't understand that the cartoon was woke. By the way, I don't like calling it a cartoon because it's not a cartoon, it's an animated series. I call it a cartoon because you can only tweet so many characters on Twitter. Thanks for that, Twitter. That's not an Elon thing, that's a Twitter thing. But um, anyway, tangent aside, I've never liked that concept. However, um, or anyway, so it is an animated series. It's not a cartoon, but in any case, let's see. Oh yeah, so then it's pretty much yeah. So there's and then we have a few things that I bookmarked here. Uh, Key character flaw that the show deliberately wrote in so they address it and have the character learn otherwise. Censoring bigotry won't erase it, it will just make it harder to safely talk about, and you don't get anywhere without talking. True. Media literacy is truly dead. The significance of Sokka's relationship during Sozin's comment wasn't just to show how far he had come as a warrior. By the way, spoilers for the animated series, but you know, but by relying purely on Toph and Suki, his character had come full circle with regarding to his misogynistic worldview. Yes. So for those that are unaware, in the last batch of episodes, the Sozin's Comet Part 1, 2, 3, and 4, which originally aired as a 2-hour movie on Nickelodeon back in 2008. Originally, or in that series, all the gang members split up and take on different parts of the Fire Lord and his allies, we'll say. Sokka teams up with Suki, his girlfriend, and Toph, their friend, who is hinted several times at having a crush on him, by the way. But he's working with two women, well, two girls, the entire time, which is very much in stark contrast to how he starts being very sexist and misogynistic. He has character growth and development. And once again, in a world, especially like today, where we are seeing so many people, so many young boys who are going to be watching this kind of show, looking up to people like Andrew Tate, they need to see somebody like Sokka who starts out this way and has their issues addressed. Why? Because they can see somebody like Sokka and think, oh, he's funny and he's cool and yeah, he's so alpha, he's so, or what do they call it now? What is it? Is it beta? No. Beta's the like bad thing or whatever. Sigma, that's the one. They're like, oh, he's so Sigma. He says he's whatever, and then they'll see, oh, wait, he's actually learning to respect women. And granted, some of them, of course, will look at that and be like, oh, he's a cuck, he's this, he's da 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 da. But like a lot of people will see that message and they'll be like, oh shit, I should respect women too. And like I say that in a way that sounds potentially patronizing, but I think you get my point here. We removed Sokka's character arc in order to make him more one-dimensional, yeah. Yeah, we don't have Sokka be sexist to then have him grow as a character, but we'll show the genocide of the air nomads. I am looking forward to that, by the way. I do want to see how that all plays out. Let's see here. Imagine feeling the need to take the edge out of a show that aired on Nickelodeon in 2005. True. Let's see. Oh, Scott fucking based. Great take. We gotta stop with needing faves to be unproblematic. Sokka was sexist specifically to learn not to be. It isn't cool that writers have the ability to use a character's flaws. Oh, isn't it cool that writers have the ability to use a character's flaws to teach lessons to the viewers? To say this character is wrong? I think that stuff is neat. True. Honestly, okay, now this person had mentioned, right? Honestly, to some degree, I feel like we took out Sokka being sexist is kind of reflective of a more modern trend of people going, you should simply know not to do this because it's obviously bad. When, like, kids' shows are the primary place to introduce a kid to morals. Exactly. If you think back to so many different messages, either directly stated or otherwise, kids and people in general learn so much from media and so much from characters that they either see themselves in or see others in, or like all these different things. We can understand this when it comes to like representation in media being important. So why is it that these creators are having this huge issue with being able to have the sexism, address the sexism, and have it be not glorified? Because like, here's the thing, right? I've talked about this before, where I don't like problematic behavior and stuff being glorified, like say infidelity, for example. I don't like that being glorified in media. However, if it's used as a thing to say, hey, this is this flaw this character has, now watch them grow from it, that's incredible. In the 2008 Iron Man movie, what made his character so impactful to audiences was his character growth. He started as a womanizing, misogynistic, alcoholic person, and he had all this character growth into Iron Man throughout the entire film. That movie could never have been made with this mindset. I would also argue that current MCU would never make that Iron Man. They wouldn't make something like that because I've talked about this before, but everything is so like squeaky clean, so corporate, so bullshit, and I hate it. And there are people who legitimately have this idea that not even characters like Sokka, one of the main characters, can't be problematic and have issues they have to work through, but even villains. Like, this was a take. So first, we're going to look at the Avatar: The Last Airbender sub. People are, basically having the same kind of moments, right? It goes deeper than just an iffy moment. This was integral to the original show, exactly. Yeah. It has a lot to do with like how Sokka was raised, and that he had this idea that he's the man of the village, because he was the only man of the village. All the other men went off to battle, and he was left to look after his sister and the tribe and everybody else and his gran and like all these people. He was the man of the tribe. That idea is put upon so many people. How many times have you heard the concept of like, say, it could even be like a young kid and a mother. The dad dies, and the mom will be like, to this young kid, you're the man of the house now. What the fuck does that mean? You're the adult. Like, just because they're the gun, well, they're not even a man yet. They're gonna grow into a man. Doesn't mean they like know how to do shit. And like, but Sokka had this mentality of like what it means to be a man and all this stuff. And he had this stuff that was, kind of deconstructed for him, and he grew as a character, which does not only make for an incredibly good, compelling character, although I would argue Zuko has the most compelling character, but that's me. But it teaches a really good message to people watching it. And again, in a time like now, where kids who would be watching the show, who will be watching the show, are also looking up to people like Andrew Tate, how incredible would it be for those same people to see the character like Sokka and see him grow, see traits that they admire in people like Andrew Tate and these other like manosphere type of people. How incredible would it be to see that those traits in Sokka? Think at first, oh, he's really cool, he's Sigma, he's whatever, and then see him deconstruct this stuff and be like, oh, well, shit. You know what I mean? Like, that can teach a really important message. But again, so clean, even fucking villains. This was a take about Deathstroke from, also known as Slade from Teen Titans, from DC. Why does DC constantly act like Deathstroke is a morally ambiguous character when he actually slept with underage, mentally unstable teenage girl? Should be with A, mentally. Why do they want us to sympathize with an actual, I'm not going to say that word for YouTube, but so badly? I don't care if he only did it once, he still did it. He's so gross, and having him as the final boss for Dark Crisis is lame. I don't know what that means, the Dark Crisis part, but here, the thing is, for those that are unaware, I'm going to show some things of it in a second here too. In the comics, in the DC comics and the Teen Titan comics, yes, Slade Deathstroke did still take Tara as his apprentice, but she didn't just fight for him. He groomed her more than just as an apprentice. He groomed her in the other way we all think of these days as well. And he absolutely took advantage of her. Like, this was their relationship. We have Slade and Tara couple, right? Now, here's the thing too, right? This character, Deathstroke, Slade Wilson, is a despicable character through and through, but he's a villain. He's supposed to be all kinds of wrong. Yeah, that's the point. They did a great job making this incredibly messed up. I can't find the post or my original comments on this, but I commented on a post similar to this, explaining how, because they were like, oh yeah, it's problematic, they need to get rid of this kind of stuff. Why? Don't you want a villain like Slade, Deathstroke, to be a villain, to me, when you have a character like this, you can go one of two ways with these kind of things, where you have something that's so despicable, horrible, evil, etc. Where they are either so evil, or they either have character growth, like Sokka, or they are so despicable, so evil, they commit such heinous acts that when they're taken down, it's all that more satisfying. And that's my take. Like, Slade, I want him to be a ruthless, horrible, evil. Like, the more monstrous he is, the better. Look at the Joker. The Joker maims and brutalizes and like all this different, like, he's horrific. He's a villain. He's supposed to be. So is Slade. Like, this idea of removing the edges of like anything and making everything so like squeaky clean is just it's destroying characters in media in general. And it's like it's so it isn't woke or progressive. It's just lame and pathetic. It's bullshit. So there was a tweet a few years ago. If a show was released today where a disabled girl dominated 90% of fights she was in, was never a love interest to anyone, and actually taught the male protagonist 25% of his combat skills, they'd call it woke propaganda. Anyway, her name is Toph. This tweet was a banger. Well, actually, the original tweet. Really popped off. But since then, it's been quote tweeted by people basically saying this take aged like milk. Where this person says, seems at the end of the day, these people would have the biggest issue with it being released today. So I want to be very clear about something. This is not progressive. This is virtue signaling. And it dilutes the actual progressive message of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because, and I've been wanting to look at this article for a while anyway here. Oh, and just to, before we get to that, yeah, people are absolutely... Now, I don't see anyone doing the whole, like, oh, this is anti-woke kind of thing, right? I don't know these YouTubers here, so if they are those type of people, I don't know. But yeah, you can better believe you're going to have your critical drinkers and Yellow Flash 2 and all those people are going to be making their videos on this stuff too. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing this now too, because I want to critique this from the proper perspective before those people do. But I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. This is an article written in 2020 that was posted on BuzzFeed. 14 reasons why Avatar: The Last Airbender is actually super feminist and progressive. And look at what number 1 is. It literally mentions sexism in the plot. BuzzFeed understood that this did not need to be taken out. That this did not need to happen. That this, him being sexist, him being misogynistic, him being the way that he was, and growing from that, was progressive and feminist. Leave it to, I mean, this was literally some of his first lines. Leave it to a girl to screw things up. And she says, you're the most sexist, immature. I mean, I could go through this entire article, but I'm not going to just read through the article itself. But there's an entire episode devoted to Sokka confronting his own misogyny and realizing women are just as capable as men. Yes. Are we even going to get this episode now in the live action show? I don't know. Are we even going to get it in this? I don't know. Is it going to be too problematic? Are they worried they're going to ruffle people's feathers because Sokka wears a women's uniform, a women's fighting uniform, which was incredibly integral for him as well? Yeah, plus the same episode shows that women can be feminine and powerful at the same time. Oh my god, this line right here, I treated you like a girl when I should have treated you like a warrior. I am a warrior, but I'm a girl too. That is such, and this line right here, this person gets it. Suki saying to Sokka and giving him a peck on the cheek, shows that she knows she doesn't have to sacrifice her femininity in order to be strong, powerful, and respected. Internalized misogyny? Not today, Satan. They got it. This uh, article writer here, Shelby Henrich, or maybe Heinrich, yeah, probably Heinrich. Like, she's based as fuck here. I don't know any of her other takes. I don't know of any other articles, so I don't, But show tackles outdated traditions and puts them right to bed. Yeah, like there's the whole arc again, still dealing with the sexism. Are we even going to have this now, or is it going to be too problematic, or I'm sorry, too iffy to have Paku refuse to train Katara because she's a woman, saying you have to learn to be a healer instead? Her beating his ass and showing that she can hold her own in a fight, to him eventually being like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'll train you after all. Before Aang saves the world, a woman technically does so first. That's true. We have Princess Yue, who gives up her life and her spirit into the koi fish in order to rebalance the moon. If you're not familiar with the series, watch the series. It's really good. Katara and Toph are both super empowered. Yeah, no, 100% they are. Yeah, no, 100%. There is never a moment where, that I can think of at least, where they have been like saved by a man and be like, oh, thank you. Like, never been anything like that. But there also isn't any like, I don't need no man kind of thing either. They're just people who are capable and who are badass, and they happen to be girls. Like, that's great. That's fine. By the way, one of the things that made Avatar so good with its messaging is because it wasn't preachy about it. It was very good. It was very good at delivering the message, but it wasn't like beating you over the head and being like, really annoying about it. So is Princess Azula, making her an even better villain. No, she's insane, but yes, she's incredibly competent. She's like all this stuff. Even though their relationship isn't perfect, Katara and Toph still support each other. Yeah, 100%. And they even have a moment, by the way, where, yeah, right here, right? They get their makeup. This is actually from a great episode called Tales of Ba Sing Se, which is a little anthology episode. And Katara and Toph's part in it is they actually go and they have a spa day. They get their makeup done, all this different stuff. They come across some popular girls, for lack of anything to call them, and they laugh at them. They're like, "Oh, you two look like clowns or some bullshit." Toph earthbends them into the river below them, and she's like, I don't care what they think I look like, because she's blind, so she's never had to care about what she looks like. She's never really known. She said, and I never really cared about that. And Katara says, that's what I really admire about you, Toph. You're so strong and confident and self-assured, and I know it doesn't matter to you, but you're really pretty. And she's like, I am? Like, this is a sweet moment. This is a really sweet moment. Katara and Toph have a strained relationship throughout the series, but in the Tales of Ba Sing Se, they're given a chance to bond, and it's just so pure. I love the fact that Katara shares that she admires Toph, backs her up, and I mentioned the girls. It shows that even though they aren't BFFs 100% of the time, they understand the importance of being there for one another. Yeah, 100%. Nearly all of the female characters have complex backstories. Oh yeah, no, true. There's not, like, unless you want to talk about, no, wasn't she burned? No, unless you want to talk about, like, I think her name's Jin, which is like a girl that Zuko goes on one date with in one episode. I think it's also Tales of Ba Sing Se. Again, Tales of Ba Sing Se is a great episode in general, but all the episodes are great except for the Great Divide. You can skip that one. But let me go back to that. Oh yeah, no, Jin. I think other than her, and she might even have some pretty good character development too. But like, yeah, they all have backstories. They all have really good, like, part of what makes Avatar so great is the rich backstories it gives to all of its characters. But I especially appreciate what it does for the female characters on the show, from something as major as the death of Katara's mother to something as minor as why Oh, by the way, the death of Katara's mother, really, okay, again, spoilers, watch the show. Really, really important moment in the show. Katara has the ability to confront and potentially kill the firebender that killed her mother years ago. When she gets that ability, no one talks her down from it. No one tries to tell her, like, this isn't right. She takes Zuko into battle with her. Zuko is just backing her up 100%. Yeah, Zuko eventually becomes good later. Zuko's just backing her up. He's like ready to kill the guy with her. And she decides of her own volition, no, you know what? I'm not going to do this because you're just a sad, pathetic old man now. It's not even worth it. There's nothing in you. You're pathetic, you're sad, you're miserable. Nothing. No one talks her down. She makes that decision on her own. I'm telling you, man, this show is fucking incredible. Distinct personalities, yeah, 100%. You could say, oh, May leans into like the goth thing too much. I mean, sure, but that's her character. No two female characters on Avatar are alike. Literally none. Katara is gentle, level-headed, and nurturing. Toph is stubborn, blunt, and hard-headed. Azula is bold, calculating, and determined. Mai is brooding, somber, and apathetic. I could go on. Yeah, 100%. Ty Lee's like bubbly and energetic and all that stuff. Azula's cold and calculating. Yeah, like you could go on and on with these characters. Oh, what was I just saying? This is literally the scene I was talking about. And just as much as internal struggle, yeah, exactly. Yeah, much as I hate you, I just can't do it. Yeah, this is a huge for her character development and centers her in the show. Yeah, because again, she makes the decision of herself. She has the character development moment. Zuko doesn't tell her, like, I know what it's like to be in this position and you want to do the right thing. No, it's nothing like she makes the decision on her own. Like, all of these moments are absolutely incredible. When there's romance involved, by the way, the show can't do romance to save their life. Neither did Korra. These shows can't do romance to save their life. Maybe that's something that'll be better about the live action show. We'll see. But in any case, when there's romance, the women in the show aren't passive. That's true. They aren't passive. But at the same time, it's so bad. It's not. I want to be clear. It's not okay. It's not bad with Sokka and Suki, and it's not even bad with Zuko and Mai. It's just bad with Katara and Aang. I mean, the whole thing is that throughout the entire show, Aang has a thing for Katara, but Katara might kind of like Aang, but probably not. And once he saves the world, he ends up like gaining her affection. And sure, there's something to be said about how it's kind of reinforces that trope of like save the day, get the girl kind of thing, which can happen. But one of the things that's important to understand with that is that it's not the saving the world or like doing the things or whatever like that you like get the girl as a prize, but rather traits that you've built up will tend to make you attractive in their eyes. Like that tends to be the way it actually works. But I mean, yeah. So it's not perfect, but oh yeah, finally, Aang and his friends literally would not have been able to save the world without Katara, Toph, or Suki. Katara, Toph, or Suki. I don't know why I'm saying Toph. Yeah, I could go on. Yeah, 100%. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to stream Avatar on Netflix if you haven't already. Oof. The show. Because yeah, it was just streaming on Netflix at the time. Yeah, no, I mean like absolutely incredible. Like I talked about this scene already. This scene that they're showing this little image from here. This is where Katara and Zuko were fighting. Were fighting Azula, and here's what happens in the final thing. Azula shoots a bolt of lightning at Katara. Zuko catch. They have the ability. Firebenders have the ability to essentially catch and reflect lightning. He does that, but he doesn't reflect it at Azula. He just fires it off in the sky, and he's yes saves Katara's life, but he's like all shocked and damaged and everything. And Azula's about to kill one more time. They also are like firebenders have the power of the comet right now. Again, watch the show if you don't understand any of like what I'm talking about here. Watch the show. But Katara is the one who now then saves Zuko, traps Azula, cuffs her, and leaves her to just insanely spit fire out of her mouth until she falls down crying and kind of she's still that's when Katara's chaining her up, but yeah. Um and like this person said, like they could go on and on. And I'm like, oh my god, like absolutely incredible. And again, this person understood, who writes for BuzzFeed, understood that this didn't need to be done. When you remove this kind of thing, you are removing a core element of the character and a core element of the messaging. And again, that is such an important message, especially for people, for potentially kids, young boys, and even you know boys in like middle school and stuff, and girls too. People in general, really, to see the message of these characters and to see things like with Sokka's character, yeah, he's a sexist asshole in the beginning. That's the point. He grows, he changes. And again, this whole thing of like sanding down these characters to make them all so non-problematic and applicable to everybody. It's like, what are you doing? That's what makes these characters so impactful. The fact that they are flawed and they grow from their flaws, or they're despicable villains like Deathstroke or the Joker, and it makes you hate them all that more, and it's all that more satisfying to see them taken down. But like this mentality is just absolutely insane to me. Absolutely insane. I am still going to watch the show. I'm still going to give it a shot. I still have hopes for it in general. Um, but yeah, this is not a good sign. We've known for a while that the original creators of the show left for creative differences. This might have been one of those creative differences. Um, we know that a lot of things they've been mentioning how, oh, we've changed things from the show. Clearly, this is one of them. We'll see what else gets changed. And look, I want to be clear about this. This isn't bad because it's like change is bad. Change is inevitable. This is bad because it's taking a incredibly good and progressive message, toning it down, diluting it in the name of progressivism, when doing the actual thing would have actually been more progressive in the first place. Like I said, and like the title of this video is probably going to be, it's they're trading actual progressive messaging for pathetic virtue signaling. It's ridiculous. But again, I am still going to give this show a watch in general. If you don't want to give the show a watch because of this kind of thing, I completely understand that. More power to you. Hey, if nothing else, the animated series will always be here. So you're more than welcome to just check that out. I guarantee you. And again, if you haven't watched it yet, please, you are doing yourself a disservice. You need to watch the show, especially if you want to watch the live action series. The show is just absolutely incredible. Even if you like are one of those people where you don't like watching animated stuff because you think it's for kids, give it a shot. It is absolutely incredible. It's phenomenal. The world building, the character, the messaging, everything. It's so good, so good. Anyway, as always, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more. Subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like, and if not, I hope you find something you do like. Later, guys. Peace and love.